Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome back to Fallout 4. So, back at Graygarden again today, and as this spot is heavily robot orientated, we're going to lean into that, and we're going to build a sort of workshop for our robot workbench to go in once we get through the automatron quest line, which should hopefully be happening on stream fairly soon. But for now, we've got a structure to put it in, so before we get on with the building, let's have a quick once-over of where we are and a look at the mods that I'm using again as well. So, a little fresh reminder, there's Graygarden. If you happen to be new, haven't found it yet, anything like that, we are on the left side, but fairly central, sort of top third, about a third of the way down the map. There's Overland Station, just down the railway track. And Diamond City is a little way off down this way. So, yeah, sort of on the outer edge there. Here's my mod selection, as usual. I've actually added a couple of little bits and pieces since the last video on Graygarden. So, there's a couple of cool things here. USO is pretty important, some weather stuff to keep clear weather on. OC Decorator I haven't actually used yet, but hopefully we'll be using it for a little bit of junk decoration at some point. More fortifications, that is a new one that I have used on the walls a little bit. Again, available on all platforms these, so you should be able to do everything no matter what system you're playing on. And I've switched out the Graygarden and Finch Farm lift for just a Finch Farm one, because I don't actually want one here. But otherwise, yeah, fairly basic. You can have a thumb through that in slow-mo if you want to. So, we are over in the corner here, and I'm just going to tuck a very, very simple structure, really, into the corner, and sort of shore it up, make it look a little bit more appropriate for a robot-run settlement. So, obviously, the legs are getting in the way a bit there, so it's as far back as it's going to go. The ground drops off very quickly as well, so this will do nicely. Just a 2x2, because I need just enough room to get the workbench in there, which is quite large. And we're going to go with the warehouse pieces, because they give that workshop vibe, right? You know, mix and match with the walls here. I spent a little while playing around with this, and then sort of decided I wanted to do as much variation in here as I could conceivably get. So there's loads of different sort of types of damage and holes and stuff in these walls with the windows on. So we stick those in on the side and mix things up a little bit. Make sure we have a bit of variety. So I kind of want this to be relatively neat and tidy as per something that is run by robots, but also beaten up as per the wasteland. So kind of having my cake and eating it a bit there, but it kind of works out all right. So that's the walls in. I do like those doors and that door frame that we have in here that we don't have in 76 for some weird reason. And we'll get a roof on. I might have to change this in a bit, because I've just realised there's a whole bunch of versions of the roofs that have holes in them, so I can kind of scrappy it up and mix and match a bit more. So I might change that later, but one to think about before we do a finished tour on this spot. So there is the structure. It's pretty simple, which works really well for what we're going to do. It's the right vibe for the rest of the settlement as well. You look at the greenhouse and stuff, it's kind of the same sort of shape, so it blends in with that and has that right robot workshop vibe. So I'm going to board up these holes with a few window boards here. These are USO added from mods, and we'll do a nice job of kind of sealing things up. Unfortunately, they always sink into the ground like this when you place them, so you have to use the pillar glitch to get them in, which is to say group select it basically. So let's get an idea of how this is going. I can't get that pillar to sink in on the outside for some reason. Some weird interaction with the wall piece back there, I think. So we'll have to be on the inside, which means no sinking of the pillar. So I'll have to line that up, figure out what height I want it, and then adjust. There are other sort of workaround ways to doing this, but it ends up taking about the same amount of time in the end. I've actually lifted that pillar a little bit too high there. You want the pillar to be, the bottom of the pillar to be lower than the bottom of the, in this case, the boards, so that you can sink things in, otherwise the sinking won't work properly. Don't really know why, it's just a thing. There we go. It should do that. There we go, it's moving properly now. So we should be able to position that smoothly along the floor there and just line it up so it looks like it's nailed onto the outside of the structure there. Should about do it. Technically it's kind of nailed onto corrugated metal, but we'll hide that behind some boxes in a minute. I'm going to grab some railings here just to mix things up, use different sort of improvised vibe. And stick this on the outside, close up a bit more of that gap. I mean, you could leave it as is, given that it's inside the walls, but in terms of the look and the feel of it, it's Nice to have that kind of, well, finished is not the right word, but, you know, repaired vibe. So we're going to grab another set of window boards and add them onto this hole here, I think. That one? Yeah, it looks alright. That one. Okay, I'm going for that one. Can't quite remember now. I'm going to go a little bit closer to home. This is actually not the best corner of the settlement to be trying to do these sort of group selecting stuff with, because the ground down here is a bit iffy. I don't know whether or not that's got anything to do with my scrapping mod. It is turned off at the moment, which is the way to go when you want to use group select. But nonetheless, that corner has a bunch of weird kind of textures and lumps of ground in it, so it kind of messes with the sinking in and stuff a little bit. So, there we go. One structure put together. Now we need to decorate a bit. And there's a couple of fun bits to talk about in how I went about this, so we'll have a look at that. So I've grabbed a shelf from a makeshift furniture pack, I think it is, the mod that I've got. And it's got loads of different shelves and bits and pieces like that that have different themes, in this case a garage one. For some reason, when I place it on foundations, I can't then move this thing. It's not supposed to do that, I don't think. And when I place it on sort of bare earth, it's fine. But on foundations, I can't move it afterwards. Weird. Don't understand it, but it is what it is. So we're going to mix up, have another one here. I don't want these matching, so we're going to have some variety back there. Unfortunately, collision is a bit of a thing on the back of this. Actually, kind of a bit of a thing on the back of a number of items in Fallout 4. So we're going to get around it by coming up here, to where I've got a bit of flat ground. And I can actually pick the thing up and move it again afterwards, which I couldn't do down in the actual building. Obviously, I can't use group select in the building because I'll select the whole structure. So the goal here is to take the ashtray, which has a flat bottom that snaps to the ground, and put it on a level piece of ground along with a shelf, and then group select it so it's not sinking into anything and always stays aligned with the ground. So that way I can actually move it a little bit closer to the back wall, because don't need to go so far as rug glitching on this one, but group select will allow me to get a bit closer to that back wall. Like this. That looks good to me. Nice. So we'll grab the next one. Some lockers with stuff in them. That should go nicely in here. We'll tuck those in the corner over here. The goal here is to make it look like a workshop, obviously with lots of stuff for breaking down and maintaining and attaching to different robots when we craft them on down the line. Haven't actually done automatron yet on this character, but we'll be tackling it on stream fairly soon, I think. Probably next week, maybe. Pick another garage shelf. I actually really like these ones and stuff on them. Decided to go for the one with the Mr. Handy fuel on it, because that kind of makes sense. Having a bit of a collision issue here again. It won't sit very close to the wall. Same thing with the collision box being larger at the back for some weird reason. Which for a shelf doesn't make a lot of sense, because you would want that to be as close to the wall as possible, generally. I would think. This time, we're going to fix it with the rug glitch, though. So, drop an invisible rug down there. Just move it onto the top, and just carefully move the whole thing in. For pillar glitching, and the rug glitch, and also we're going to have a look at the wire glitch later on as well, because I've used all three in this. I will link down below in the description, or comments or somewhere down there, possibly on a card as well, my guides playlist, so if you want to know how to use these core techniques, they will be available on there for you. So get a couple of bits on the wall, fill up some of those gaps and start putting a few bits and pieces in the corners over here. I want to leave a decent sized space in the middle so that I can get my robot workbench in when I actually pick it up. Obviously that thing comes from automatron, so yeah. It is quite large, that thing, and if I've dressed up the rest of this space before I put that in, I suspect I'm going to have to use the rug glitch to get the workbench in, but we'll see how that goes, cross that bridge when we come to it and all that. There we go, a few boxes and barrels, add a little bit of extra flavour. I'll rummage around, see what else we can find. A Mr. Handy box, that makes sense. We'll use the beaten up one, stick that in the corner. Especially as this place is full of Mr. Handys. Box of stuff, sounds good. Again, placing it on the foundation means I can't move it for some weird reason. When I place it on the floor, fine. Weird. I mean, you know, these things are weird anyway, and mods are even weirder, so it is what it is. We know how to work around it, that's the main thing. Trolley full of stuff. Yep, that's about perfect for a workshop, especially given what's on there. So, these shelves have a blank space on the top that I want to put a few bits on. However, as we can see, they don't seem to have a solid upper surface. So we're going to have to group select things so that they are close to the top and look like they're placed on it rather than actually being placed on it. I'm going to do this... Well, actually, I made an error here. I'm doing this the hard way and making life way more difficult for myself than I need to be. So what I'm doing here is finding a place in the ground that I can actually sink this pillar in, because this corner of the settlement? Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. This corner of the settlement is a bit awkward. And then we're just going to group select. Nice and close to that toolbox. A bit closer, apparently. And just move it in. And we'll measure it off, see if that's the right height. It's not, so I'll adjust it and try again. What I should have done here is pick the whole shelf up, move it out to somewhere where I can sink the pillar in, like over here, and then positioned everything on top of the shelf from sort of outside, and then I can just group select the whole darn lot into place at the end, which would mean I can just sink the pillar freely and place things much more easily rather than having to go backwards and forwards all the time. This works, but I definitely made life more difficult for myself than I needed to there, I think. Still, pushing on. Last couple of bits I wanted to have a look at, primarily some lighting. So, turns out this was not the right choice, but for the moment, it'll do, until we change it in a minute. I'm going to grab a generator. I don't really want the generator inside the workshop. It's going to just fill it with smoke, so that's not a good idea for starters. And also, I kind of like to hide these things a little bit. Just tuck them out of sight. So I thought about coming around the back here. Can't really get through very easily. So that's not ideal. We'll tuck it down the side on this side, and that works quite nicely, I think. Just enough room, and it's out of sight, and doesn't look like it's floating, and all is good. Drop that in. We'll grab a conduit, a connector, depending on what you want to call it, this thing. Stick it on the wall up there. Wire that up, and then tidy up a little bit. Now we've got a bit of light. And I'll use my Pip-Boy light so I can also see what I'm doing here. There we go. That thing's not putting out anywhere near enough light though, so we're going to need some more and some adjustments. These lights here, I think, are from... Well, I'm not actually sure what they're from. I think they might be from the Creative Clutter mod. Well, I'm not 100% sure on that. It's pretty cool. And there's different sets of desk lamps and stuff around, even if you can't find the same ones. This might also be Creation Club, I'm not sure. My head is telling me Creation Club because of the nature of the items within it. But it's also in the menu looking like a mod, so I don't know which it is. Either way, it's available on all systems because I've checked all of them, so... But group selecting in some desk lamps onto the top of the shelves allowed me to kind of throw light onto where the workbench will be. And I've had a bit more of a play around with some of these lighting options. I'm going to grab that bulb that I've now put on the top, because it's normally too bright for me. But in this space it works quite nicely because it's so high up. We're going to move it a little bit further forward so it's throwing its light onto what will be the front of where the robot's placed, when I've actually got the bench in here, rather than being behind the robot. And the last thing I want to do is put a light switch in here, kind of. So we're going to just use the wire glitch and go through the wall to connect to this switch here. As I can't get it to run through the gaps with the switch in this specific position. And basically go from the generator to the switch and the switch to the conduit so that it will power the lights. Again, same problem, won't work that way. We'll have to run around. And I can't jump, so I have to be careful. But if you want to see the how to do that, as I say, it'll be linked in the description for the wire glitch. There we go. I'm going to head off and add a couple more bits and pieces, and we'll have a look at the finish effect in just a moment in the tour. Wonderful. So here we go. I added a few extra bits and pieces of decoration here and there, dressed up the outside a little bit, and it's ready and waiting for the robot workbench to just drop in the middle, which, as I say, I'm pretty sure I will have to rug glitch it. But that's fine. I mean, if all I have to do is move one thing, that might not be so bad, but... Either way, the space is ready when I have the opportunity. So around this side, I haven't gone all the way around doing extra bits of decoration because you can't see it really, and there's not really space to do that. So I've added a couple of junk walls that have sunk in a bit and used them to kind of brace up the outside parts of the walls there. There's a junk wall and a half wall. Stuck a car and a motorbike sunk into the dirt a bit as well, and some boxes and barrels and things. Tidied up out front here a little bit so I've got room to move around and so robots have got room to get in and out. I might put a ramp on the front of this of some kind, because that step is a bit much, I think. A couple of boxes there just to have it spill out a little bit. Kind of works nicely. Yeah, I feel like I do need some kind of step or ramp. Ramp for robots, really, but we'll see. I'll have a think about how I can do that. And possibly do that in time for a finished tour of this place, which we'll do at some point in a future video. Yeah, plenty of detail, plenty of decorations. Added a sink and shelf with some extra chemicals and things. Maybe we got to... Well, coolant for the robots makes sense. Maybe we need to clean them up a bit as well, I know. Lots of bits and pieces of stuff to scrap and use to build robots with. And I'm quite happy with the effect overall. It's got the right vibe. We'll have a look at the light switch in a minute. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure about the books. On the other hand, the little robot models, it's kind of, I don't know, maybe it's a starting point or an aspirational thing. It's kind of fun anyway. Put a few tools up on the wall there. That pegboard is another modded item as well. Let's turn the lights on a minute. And even in daytime, you'd see fairly well. I think we're about halfway through the afternoon actually here to try and get a bit more sunlight on it. But this particular corner is arguably the darkest corner of the Graygarden Settlement, so... A few extra bits of scrap and stuff from varying mods and possibly the Creation Club, can't remember which. Those are kicking around as well. And I need to pull that shrub that's sticking through the floor out as well. Can't do much about the grass, but the shrub I can delete. So I'll probably do that and tidy things up. Yeah, all in all, I think that gets the right vibe going. And let's put a little ramp on there maybe. We'll have a nice spot so you repair and maintain and add to our collection of robot workers in this spot. So there we go. Hope you folks found that interesting, useful, and enjoyed that little build. If you did, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate. Down below, I've got social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all that good stuff if you want to support the channel that way. I really, really appreciate it. And as I say, if you get a chance, join us for live streams as well. Of course, play Fallout 4, play Fallout 76 as well. So lots of cool things happening. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I look forward to speaking to you all very, very soon.